Now, here's 5-Star Wrestling Podcast Eddie Valiant with Eddie Valiant's Hot Take.
I want to welcome everybody to Eddie Valiant's Hot Take. That's right, this is a new segment that I'm going to be doing here because the podcast is long enough, and I figured I would do this a little bit separate. So this is a separate episode, and by the way, I do want to apologize to all the fans of 5-Star Wrestling Podcast for there not being an episode of 5-Star Wrestling. Part of it is my fault, if I'm being perfectly honest with all of you. Avengers came out, and that was kind of top priority because I am a comic book nerd on top of being a wrestling, horror movie, heavy metal nerd on top of all these things. So I wanted to do something where it's like every week I give you my take on whatever the hottest topics in wrestling are, and it's going to be a quick show. It's not very long, and I just hope that all you guys can enjoy this, because you're going to get my side. On 5-Star Wrestling Podcast, I'm more of an interviewer kind of person, so this show will let me be what the Afterman and Juicy Josh are. Juicy Josh always keeps it juicy. So yeah, this is going to be my take on some topics in professional wrestling, things that I want to talk about more of, and there are a couple of things this week that I want to talk about that have kind of been bugging me, and one of them is Enzo Amore and Big Cass. The sad fact of the matter is, if it wasn't for Enzo, I would accept Big Cass. And I know a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people aren't fans of Big Cass. They think he's stiff or he's not good enough. I enjoyed whatever part of his angle he had towards the end of his WWE career. So I didn't think that was bad, as some people have. I mean, it wasn't great, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad, and it wasn't terrible. But Enzo, I have to say, man, it's just a cancer. I have to agree with Tama Tonga on that, and I want to thank Tama Tonga for coming out and responding to Enzo's ridiculous video. I'm not going to play the audio, but I'll give you some highlights of what Enzo Amore. These guys, I don't know if this is an angle they're working, where Big Cass kind of sits there and calls Ring of Honor fans a bunch of fucking idiots. And then Enzo takes to whatever social media platform he's on, Twitter, Enzo. Remember, he's not Enzo anymore, he's Enzo. And he pretty much says, listen, as far as all you people that work with or work for Ring of Honor, New Japan, as far as you're concerned, not concerned, zero fucks given, you're S-O-F-T fucking soft. So I know this might be hard for you, maybe, but maybe you do me a solid. When you happen to see me and Cass, he's a big guy, introduce yourselves, because we have no idea who the fuck you are. End quote. So Enzo doesn't realize that he's not the biggest deal in the room anymore. Enzo doesn't realize that nobody cares anymore. He was a flash in the pan wannabe Road Dogg Jesse James. Let's be honest. Okay, Road Dogg Jesse James, that was the real deal in professional wrestling. Enzo, you are not the real deal. And here's another thing. Road Dogg Jesse James could also back it up in the ring. He was a good wrestler. Okay, that's why he's a WWE Hall of Famer now with the rest of D-Generation X. You know where Enzo's going to be? Not in the Hall of Fame. That's for damn sure. And then you want to go and say that nobody knows who the fuck you are? Did you watch All In? Did you watch the G1 Supercard, Enzo? I mean, I know you were there at the G1. You obviously saw that place was sold out, which makes me believe that, you know what, people do know who in the hell Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, who the Briscoes, who the Kingdom, who any of those guys are. People know. We know Tanahashi. We know all these guys. You know who wrestling fans don't want to know anymore? Yeah, they don't want to know Enzo. And unfortunately, because of Enzo, we also don't want to know who Big Cass is. That's a sad fact of reality. People were literally hoping that the Briscoes would break kayfabe and they would beat the crap out of you. That's what we were hoping for when we heard that you had stormed over the barricades and attacked the Briscoes and Bully Ray. I really hoped that Bully Ray was going to wrap a chain around his fist and just knock your teeth out. That's honestly what a lot of us were hoping for. Sad fact, too, is that nobody wants him around and he doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. We laughed at you because we thought you were an idiot when you got thrown out of that WWE pay-per-view event. We laughed and we mocked you because nobody wants you around anymore. I hate to be Kid Rock from Joe Dirt, but it's true. Enzo is Joe Dirt. But in this reality, nobody feels bad for Enzo. That's my take on Enzo Amore. And I just want to take the time to thank Tama Tonga for saying that Enzo was a cancer and that he won't let him kill the wrestling business on his watch. My next take here on the hot take has to do with a certain female wrestler. And let's stop calling them female wrestlers. Let's just call them wrestlers, to be honest. And I want to talk about Sasha Banks. And I want to come out and say that I support Sasha Banks. Now, I know a lot of people are going to give Sasha Banks crap because she's walked out in the WWE and that she was upset, and people are going to comment about her lying on the floor and being a little difficult, her and Bayley. But was she wrong? I mean, think about it for a second. You were given the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, and everything looks promising. It looks like we're going to see some great rivalries with maybe some, tag teams from NXT. Maybe we'll see some great rivalries over on SmackDown and Raw and wherever. Maybe they travel to NXT UK, and you never know. They might have faced some wrestlers in NXT UK. But only to drop the belt to the Iconics at WrestleMania, and that was a last-minute decision. Now, I don't have a problem with the Iconics being women's tag team champions. I don't. In fact, I'm a huge fan of Peyton Royce. But my thing is I kind of have to agree with Sasha Banks that if you wanted to build this women's tag team division, you got to give the first ever winners of the women's tag team titles, give them a legitimate run. You know what I'm saying? Let them wrestle on multiple pay-per-views. They don't always have to win non-title matches. That I'll give. Because it could build up an interesting storyline if, let's just say, like what happened with the Iconics. They managed to pin Sasha and Bayley on an episode of SmackDown, which then led to the Iconics being in that match, that Fatal 4-Way match. If you notice, that Fatal 4-Way match only featured, one SmackDown Live tag team, which was the Iconics. Now, we had said it, Nia and Tamina had a legitimate reason to be there, okay? That was could have been decent rivalry, but, you had them drop the titles to the Iconics. Now, as I was saying, you don't have to have them win every non-title match, but at least at a pay-per-view, let them win. I mean, this whole thing of Sasha Banks, this is starting to be real life. And the WWE kind of taking advantage of this, in my opinion, of the fact that she drops the title on her first defense, right? This is a reality. And let's just face it, that WrestleMania match was their first real defense of the women's tag team titles. Okay, so is she totally wrong in wanting to sit out the rest of her contract? I would be pissed off too. You've built her legacy that way. And, with the fact that AEW is out there, let's not forget, AEW is out there, and I guarantee AEW would salivate at the chance to have Sasha Banks on their roster. Now, whether you agree with it or not, and whether you say, well, they're still too young of a company and they still haven't had their first event, yeah, granted, but these are the stepping stones, right? This is the building blocks for a young company like that, to have such a great women's wrestler. Now, I've never been a huge Sasha Banks fan, but I appreciate what she brings each and every week. Now, I think, again, they had a legitimate argument. And maybe at SummerSlam, you have them drop the tag team titles. Give them a little bit of a stretch of a run. But, Sasha has her reasons, and she's sticking by them, and I have to give her credit for that. I want to kind of look at what Hall of Famer Tony Atlas, who we all know didn't have the strongest of careers later on in his life. He had a decent career as Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, but he made a good point when he talked about Sasha Banks. He warns Sasha that if she doesn't return, she'll be viewed as unreliable, right? And that even says, he told Boston Wrestling, MWF, that she made the biggest mistake of her career because, quote, they never fire you on the spot. You always get it at home. That's why they say go home and think about it. Now, what they do, they have a meeting. Now, if she does decide to come back, they're going to destroy her. Her career is over. They'll job her out. She lost reliability because what she just told them, you can't trust me. That's all she did. She let the wrestling world down, and not just the wrestling world. Everybody who's affiliated with the WWE is looking at it the same way. Now, does Tony have a legitimate argument? Yeah, I think he has a legitimate argument. I mean, he could be telling the truth. I mean, this is a guy who, wasn't the biggest superstar, but I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't the biggest. Not that I can remember anyways. And I've been a wrestling fan since WrestleMania 3. That's my earliest memory. And I don't remember Tony Atlas being that big of a deal, if we're being 100% honest. But he has a legitimate argument, man. I mean, they're going to bury her if she decides to come back. And, maybe this is the end of the road. And maybe Sasha should just sit out the rest of her contract. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And we'll have to just wait and see what Sasha Banks decides to do. I want to shift gears right now. And my last topic of the week is CM Punk. Now, whether or not that actually was CM Punk who returned to the ring in the mask, I don't think it's been completely revealed that it's him, but we can pretty much guesstimate that was CM Punk, and that was a nice go to sleep that he delivered. Now, the show took place in Wisconsin, and it was an MKE wrestling show, and apparently the rumor was it was CM Punk and Silas Young, who went on Busted Open Radio. He owns this company, MKE. And apparently the reasons we're getting that it could have been Punk. See, he won't confirm 100% that it was CM Punk, but the reasons he returned apparently is because CM Punk made his debut in that building, and the building's going to be torn down pretty soon. And that could have been the legitimate reason why CM Punk came back in the mask. So now we have to listen to more CM Punk chants because it's coming. That's going to happen, right? It's just bound to happen. People are going to be speculating, oh my God, is Punk coming back? Is Punk coming back? Probably not. And I'm 100% okay with whatever decision CM Punk makes, because let's just face it, if the guy's done with wrestling, he's done with wrestling. If he wanted to just, say goodbye to the building, that's what he did. Okay, and he put a mask on, so it's obviously he doesn't want to fully come back. Would I want to see CM Punk come back? Oh, shit. You have no friggin' idea how bad I'd love to see CM Punk come back to wrestling. That is a dream of mine. I have dream matches that CM Punk could get into. And I could just start naming them off right now. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. CM Punk versus AJ Styles. CM Punk versus Andrade. CM Punk versus Aleister Black. CM Punk versus Ricochet. CM Punk versus Cedric Alexander. Buddy Murphy. You name it, I want to see it. I mean, CM Punk versus Tama Tonga, CM Punk versus Kenny Omega, CM Punk versus whoever, man. There are so many dream matches, and believe me, I'm fanboying out right now just talking about it, but it's not going to happen. And I also want to make a quick assessment here. When CM Punk decided to leave wrestling, I was okay with the decision because I said, you know what? Punk was right. The treatment was unfair, and plus he looked bad towards the end of his WWE run, so he needed the rest. But my thing, when he decided that he was going to do the MMA career, I was 100% behind him and 100% supported CM Punk in every decision he made. Because I said that's one of my favorite wrestlers, and I'm going to support my favorite wrestler 100% of the way. And that's what happened. I mean, let's face it, CM Punk went in there and he tried his best. Yeah, he got his ass kicked by Mickey Gall. Okay, not very pretty. But at least he went in there. He's got more balls than I do, because I would never step foot into an MMA ring or octagon. Unless I had some training, then maybe. But I would never step in there, so I got to give him credit for that. And then he tried his best in the second fight, and he didn't win. Okay. But you know how many people sat there, oh yeah, I'm a CM Punk fan, before the first fight, and then all of a sudden as the fight was over, like, oh, he's a fucking clown. Like, I can't believe that clown went into MMA. It's like all these supposed CM Punk fans, right? And meanwhile, I'm sitting there depressed that he lost his first fight and supporting him on Twitter. You can go back on Twitter. You can even go onto my blog site, which is Mr. X's Punch Out, right? Just look it up on WordPress, mrxpunchout.wordpress.com, and you'll find the article where I supported CM Punk 100% of the way. It's there. But I'm not looking for a popularity contest, and I'm not looking for you guys to be like, oh yeah, he's a big CM Punk fan. Just saying, don't be fake, all right? If you support somebody, support them 100% of the way. And let's just forget that there's ever a chance of CM Punk returning. But when it does, and if it does happen, there'll be nobody happier than me. You can believe that, and that's all I've got to say for this week's Hot Take. I will see you guys next week for 5-Star Wrestling Podcast for another amazing episode of that, episode 13. And then I will also see you guys next week for another Eddie Valiant's Hot Take.